Dearest and most beloved divine brothers and sisters, friends and families in Guyana, diaspora, around the world, the Caribbean, your friend, your brother, me, Haji Dr. Roshan Khan, on In the Raw. Another expose on this, the RKs Guyana Free Media Unedited Raw, as the name explains, ladies and gentlemen. Let me continue. And this is taken from the Sunday, August 9th, 2020, a few days ago. The government seeks intellectual authors behind the elections fiasco. First of all, it does not mean because a segment of the population votes for a particular party that they are racial or ethnically biased. This goes for both, particularly the PPPC and the PNC, aka APNU. They vote yes possibly because of an ethnic appreciation, or because they feel safe with that leadership, but does not mean that they are racial or prejudiced, except for maybe few in both parties, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why I feel safe and proud with the PPPC in power, which developed with a multifaceted mentality and psychology for all people. Dr. Irfan Ali has made it clear that he will be the president of all the people, and that he will root out and he will go to the deepest levels to expose and find corrupt actors who have been working to destroy Guyana's wealth and to pay their friends and families and to steal our monies and put plans in place for more and more monies to come from certain investments by certain investors locally and internationally with their names as silent partners. And they can draw down friends and families, ladies and gentlemen. I met yesterday a very wonderful gentleman. He's known to be proactive, productive, dynamic, and some people sometimes misunderstand him. Honorable Minister Robeson Ben, Minister of Home Affairs, in what was previously a misnomer called public security. And a gentleman shows his skill and his ability and wanting to work for all peoples of this country. And obviously his love for the PPPC as an African, as an Afro-Guyanese, most dedicated to the cause of brotherhood of all peoples is something that we must truly stand for and support. All Guyanese must be able to enjoy the faculties and the facilities that is being created by this new government in power. We have seen the previous regime hurt us, took advantage of us, denied our appointments, terminated our contract even though legally granted by the official cabinet, and then the shadow cabinet, led by Mr. Eve Lies and a few others, try to destroy you. How can you not work to bring them down? There were a few who were good, but when they go out to wipe you out, to deny you your awards and your appointments as if they own the Eve Lies, the instruments of authority and power of the country, as if it was a personal item in their personal wallet or in their stomach or in certain other crevices of their bodies, maybe their nose or the ears or other places, friends and families. Here, that in mind created a very serious fiasco in Guyana that brought international shame and degradation to our country. And then you find some of their supporters talking about geopolitics. Well, geopolitics, according to the minds of some people, could be bad, and geopolitics, according to the minds of some people, could be good. As if they should be left alone to do what they want because they're calling it internal interference in the affairs of our country. Wrong. You belong to a club, and the club is democracy. You belong to the United Nations. You belong to CARICOM. You support the Spanish organizations in Guyana and the Caribbean, for which you are a member, in South America. You have to comply. You're a member of the OAS, the African, Caribbean, Pacific states. You have to function according to the vagaries and laws of democracy. Friends and family, brothers and sisters, welcome to RKs Guyana Free Media in the Raw. And I am your host, Haji Dr. Roshan Khan. At this time, we will speak about government seeks intellectual authors behind elections fiasco. President Dr. Irfan Ali. I call him doctor twice because he has 2 doctorates from the University of the West Indies. I salute your brilliance, sir. How they tried to bring you down, how they tried to break you. But the power of God in you and the Creator and your respect for all religions and all humanity is a blessing. The People's Progressive Party civic government led by President INQUIRE Ali, Dr. Irfan Ali has made a strong commitment to review the events of Guyana's 5-month-long 2020 elections, which has disgraced us internationally, which has made us look as if we are a set of tomfools in Guyana because they were trying to find a technicality to remain in power, in perpetuity for thievery. Back to the article. It is vowing to hold those accountable who sought to pervert and corrupt the system. Addressing the inauguration ceremony yesterday, President Ali made it clear that the painful events of the last 5 months are etched into the minds of all Guyanese all across the world. And if I may add, etched in all peoples around the world and all leaders around the world, including all the nations of the United Nations, the OAS, the CARICOM, the Spanish-speaking country in South America and the Caribbean, the African, Caribbean and Pacific states. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, etched into the minds. And what is etched there is not easy to be removed. Back to the article. As vigorous attempts were made to destroy our democratic credentials and deny the will of the electorate. The electorate, friends and families, the commentary again, is the people. To deny the will of the people, and they fail to forget that the will of the people is the will of God. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you something. In 2015, everything was done by the international community to see to it that the PPPC came out of power because they understood certain things of certain individuals were not good for Guyana at that time. They were egotistical, some of them were dishonest, and they were too well set for too long in the seat of power. And so they had to come out of power for the period. But the same people, the same international organizations who helped to bring down the PPP in 5 years and less, 3 years plus, so to say, with a no confidence motion and everything, were demanding that they resign and retire from public office. But they refused. And they played with it, with the courts and this court, and they say, well, they will accept whatever the court say, and then another court. And they played with the world. And the world know the corruption and the deceit. With the oil and gas that they were putting in place, the big countries, the United Kingdom, Europe, the United States of America and Canada, they have their own international institutions that work within ours that we don't realize. And they're getting information. And they have some people who are local, who are giving them the information. They are here, they are seeing. They knew what they were setting in place for the grand scale thieveries of the oil and gas sector. And what will happen to other segments of the population except the big boys for themselves and a few little pittances for the for a few of the mass supporters, ladies and gentlemen, friends and families. It is as if the power that they got went to their head too quick, and they lost their way. They lost their way. I recall, I'm telling you again, I told you before, the president wrote on a letter I wrote him, and with the evidence that the chairman of the shadow cabinet, not the real cabinet, the shadow cabinet, when cabinet awarded certain things that worked to destroy the people, he wrote 3 ministers. Minister of Communities, Bulkan. He wrote the Minister of Finance. The chief one was the Minister of Finance, carbon copy to Bulkan, and carbon copied to Gaskin, his son-in-law, and Minister of Business. After about 2 months, Gaskin replied, I thank you, sir, Mr. Gaskin. I hope the government gives you a chairmanship of a great board. I think you're honorable and good to be maintained by this government in power. You stood for principle and ethics, and you knew what would have happened. But they did not listen to you, and they maligned you, Mr. Gaskin. But here we go again. Ladies and gentlemen, Gaskin replied to me, but the minister, Winston Jordan, did not reply, as the president instructed him, and did not look into the matter. Nor did Bulkan, minister then of communities, or what is local government, friends and families, ladies and gentlemen. To my opinion, some of these ministers were working with evil eyes to undermine and bring down the former president, David Arthur Granger, Brigadier. Bring him down and show him bad in the eyes of the people and the world. Because of those things, I realized I had to dedicate my life to bring down that government. And more so, that intention was exacerbated at the count and the recount. And so I had to work to bring them out, ensure that information was fed to the powers of the world through open social media. Brothers and sisters, back to the article. The will, they forgot, of the people is the will of God. The will of the electorate are the people. The electorate is the people. And they forgot that. And when God decides a thing, no matter how much you try, how they try, how many tens upon tens upon tens upon tens of millions of dollars they manipulated out of the treasury, and out of all the means to pay in the court cases, and try to influence judges and terrorize and threaten them, and even terrorize and threaten them. And the American ambassador and the British ambassador tried to terrorize and threaten them. But when the will of God is placed like a shield over the righteous, one either vacate or be destroyed. Friends and families, your brother Haji Dr. Roshan Khan back in the raw. Let us read. Therefore, a review of the events related to the electoral process over the last 5 months will begin shortly in order to determine forensically exactly what transpired and to hold accountable any persons who sought to pervert and corrupt the system. President Ali said that in his national address at the cultural center of Guyana, ladies and gentlemen. So technically he's saying they will have to forensically, like when you're investigating a crime for court of murder, because this is more than murder. Where did the evil come from? And everyone must be made to answer. And those who are beyond the realm of being charged and arrested, their name must go down in perdition, and the country must know, and history must bear them out to the citizens and the students in years and decades and of lifetimes to come. But they will have to, others will have to be found and charged and dealt with according to law. They must not escape, and they must not be civilian. It will have to be criminal. Friends and families, brothers and sisters, back to the article. Guyana 2020 elections only came to an end on August 3rd, bringing the finality to the 5-month-long process dubbed the mother of all elections. And I continue. Though the voting process, which ended on March 2nd, a timely conclusion to the election, was marred by a series of events. And then it came on with fraud, and fraud is fraud, and all kind of nonsense to plant some things in the weaklings of the minds of the weak of their supporters. But the world know better, and the vast population of Guyana know better, and the intellectuals of their party and their supporters know better. Friends and family, back to the article, the fraudulent acts of Region 4 returning officer Claremont Mingo and the Chief Elections Officer CEO Keith Lowenfield, and a string of court litigations brought by members of the then Party for National Unity and Alliance for Change APNU AFC coalition, all aimed at granting a false victory to their party. In other words, to thief a nation, to steal a nation, to hijack the elections by fraudulent means of evil planted in the minds of some of their supporters. Back to the article. Already the CEO is facing 3 private criminal charges related to the fraudulent declaration of results. At the conclusion of the national recount, however, the will of the people was reflected, revealing a win for the PPPC. Thank you, God. Many of us would have died. How they would have tried to starve some of us. Starve us of business. In reality, starving their own people. But in a business like mine, it's most of their people and supporters that work with me. Friends and families. They don't think. I'm one of the few agencies that pay properly the NIS, the salaries, the overtime, the annual leave, friends and families, ladies and gentlemen, and give benefits and facilities to their people. And I never asked them to vote contrary to what they believed in. Unless, of course, I was a candidate or some supporter of a party. But I was not a supporter of a party. I was open. I was apolitical. They caused me to have had to work for the downfall. And I think I played a very important role in that. I have, ladies and gentlemen, over 10 to 15,000 serious supporters that will eat off my hand if I ask them, and love me, and people of religions and races. I didn't tell them to vote for a particular party, but I told them I'm not supporting privately the coalition government. So I think that's the $10,000 or $12,000 top persons that brought them down. I think so. You cannot want to deny me what belongs to me and to all the good and decent people of this country, and then try to get my favor. Back to the article. All of us have an obligation, he said, to the nation and to ourselves, to ensure that never again should any generation of our people be subjected to such unlawful behavior. His Excellency the President says, the man of heart, the man of love, the man of fortitude, the man of discipline, His Excellency President Dr. Irfan Ali. Back to the article. More importantly, Ali committed to pursuing the necessary reforms for a more transparent electoral process, more transparent, and our democracy stronger, a call that has been echoed by many in the regional and international community who bore witness to Guyana's elections. The President then went on to commend member states of CARICOM and the international community, including the Organization of American States, the Carter Center, and the Commonwealth Group of Nations, along with the resident diplomatic corps, Canada, the European Union, and the United States, who fearlessly defended our people's political rights. I salute you, you great countries. The African Organization of the Mandela Group, the Mandela Elders of South Africa, African, I repeat, African, Caribbean, and Pacific states included, friends and families. Some of those who stayed alert with us through these dark days are with us as a new dawn dispels the darkness of despair and shines the light of unbound expectation on us today. President Ali said, thank you, Your Excellency. And I continue. Further, he paid homage to the late Barbadian Prime Minister and the leader of the Commonwealth Elections Observer, Owen Arthur, who played an integral role in highlighting the fraudulent acts of Claremont Mingo during the electoral process. I remember this gentleman was willing to return to the then Foreign Affairs Minister, who was telling them some insultive and low-life words. Take back your badge if you want and cancel us of the OAS. What a brave man. We must honor him and put a bust for him and the other leaders of the diplomatic community that stood for Guyana, including the bust of CARICOM former head, ladies and gentlemen. As has been supposed and encouraged by our beloved writer, political analyst, the star, the scholar, Freddie Kisu. He was a true friend of Guyana, a man committed to justice and the results of, and the rights, I beg your pardon, of the people. One man who put our country before himself. In his determination that democracy should not die in Guyana. Thank you, Owen Arthur. May God give you that resting place among the giants of the prophets and the leaders of religion and humanity. May you rest with such men of Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. The democracy should not die in Guyana, nor should our people be deprived of their political rights. Beloved, divine friends and family, what a wonderful, amazing article. My brothers and sisters, Paul, operate. So friends and family, I think that was a magnificent expose by the Sunday Kaicho News. I thank them for it. And I hope these words have to open up your eyes, including those who are now supporters of the opposition. And we know no matter what comes, some will always support the opposition. And some will always support the PPP no matter what, blindly. But I hope I'm helping to open up your eyes to understand that the APNO AFC lost the election. And I hope the PPPC will find another way to possibly forgive these people. But at the same time, once criminality has been committed, then they must be dealt with according to law. Guyana is our country, ladies and gentlemen, the public at large. We must work for a united Guyana and with the government in power to develop a Guyana that is good for all. The government of Guyana must approach peoples of both sides who are in need of homes and water and facilities and benefits, and those who are so poor they can't afford electricity. Give them a small but necessary solar system that can drive a small fridge, a TV, and a few lights in their homes, and give them happiness. Use some of that money from the Lotto Fund, some of that money from the red champion of the earth money that the former excellency and president, the master, the giant in the international affairs, Dr. Bharajat Deo, now vice president, had negotiated for. Me, your friend, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan, saying thank you, my friends and family, for tuning into this, the RKs Guyana Free Media in the Raw. May God bless you all, your families, our countries, and may we raise to the glory that God intended. Farewell, friends.